What's going on, guys? Alex McCarthy here, and you are about to watch my interview with Paul Heyman on Inside the Ropes. I caught up with the special counsel to the Tribal Chief ahead of Survivor Series, where Roman Reigns will meet WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Paul Heyman got into the futures of Brock Lesnar, what the Undertaker's legacy is on the business, how much help did he have on the 2020 Royal Rumble match, his time as the creative director of Raw, and of course the hand he has played in Drew McIntyre's rise and Roman Reigns now. So plenty to dive into. So sit back and enjoy Paul Heyman. Paul, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am fantastic. All the better for having the chance to speak to you. We're so excited about Survivor Series this Sunday. Before I get into that, I just found something interesting when researching you a bit. When you're not being the advocate or the special counsel, looking for Larry, nearly 1,000 campaigns there. That's a bit. Is that what the people need to know about you do in your spare time, Paul Heyman, if you can call it spare time?
Well, one of the reasons why I co-own New York City's hottest marketing agency is because I don't want to have any spare time in my life. I like to work 24/7, 365. It's what I do. It's what I was put on this planet to do. I thank you for your recognition of our agency. We are indeed the hottest agency out there today. And rightfully so, because we worked our tuchuses off in order to build this agency. And I think our track record of success and our body of work speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Very impressive stuff. If people don't know about it, now they do, and hopefully they will check that out. Moving on to Survivor Series this Sunday, man, I don't think I'll be alone in saying Roman Reigns right now is the hottest star in the business. The whole Tribal Chief is just fantastic stuff. I want to know, did he personally give you the call when coming around to this idea? How quickly did it move? Because Roman's return at SummerSlam, it took everyone by surprise, but when it came, it's been amazing ever since.
I think like most overnight success stories, it's taken forever to happen. We just celebrated this week the 8th anniversary of Roman Reigns' debut on the main roster. And how did Roman Reigns debut on the main roster? Roman Reigns debuted on the main roster at Survivor Series 2012 as part of the Shield, which was brought in by Paul Heyman to keep the title on CM Punk. So my association with Roman Reigns in front of the public goes back to his debut on the main roster. And I've known this man since the day that he was born. So this has been a lifetime in the making, and only now was the time right for us to pull the trigger on this collaboration between Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, the Tribal Chief and his special counsel.
So when he's coming back at SummerSlam, at what point do you know? Because it's obviously I think it's the SmackDown after that we discover that you two are in cahoots, as it were. At what point do you know, right, this is finally happening? What, the alliance that we've wanted for so long is finally happening.
While I admire your skills as an investigative reporter to get down to an answer that no one has been able to deliver to their audience as of yet, I would suggest to you that the wildest conspiracy theories that you could come up with pale by comparison to the behind the scenes truth of when I knew, what I navigated, what we manipulated, and how it all came into place. And why would I want to ruin a great conspiracy theory or series of conspiracy theories that's out there? Please enjoy the speculation.
I can appreciate that, Paul. Thank you very much. Let me talk about this, though. Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns this Sunday. Would you agree
right? Since they met at WrestleMania 35, when we saw them together in the ring at SmackDown, wasn't there a new special luster with the pair of them there? It felt really big having those two together on SmackDown. And now we're going to get it. One of WWE's biggest matches they can probably deliver at Survivor Series this Sunday. Would you agree that both men are in a new stratosphere?
If Drew McIntyre wasn't reaching a new stratosphere every day, every Monday, I wouldn't be intrigued with him stepping into the ring with Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. The fact is that several years ago on television, I told Roman Reigns at the time he was the right guy in the right place at the wrong time, because it wasn't time for him to emerge as the single biggest superstar in all of WWE, be it Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and indeed in all of sports entertainment. Now is that time for Roman Reigns. The problem here is that Drew McIntyre is a godsend to WWE, a magnificent performer, a tremendous human being, a fantastic representative of the WWE brand, and will end up with a championship reign that will be deserving of the Mount Rushmore of championship reigns. The problem is that Drew McIntyre is the right guy in the right place at the wrong time, because Drew McIntyre is always going to be the biggest superstar with the secondary championship, because it's not the championship that makes the man, it's the man that makes the championship. And the THEE, the single biggest superstar in all WWE now is Roman Reigns, and deservedly so. And Roman Reigns this Sunday will demonstrate why he is the biggest superstar, the most important champion. And Drew McIntyre, as great as he is, and he is great, is going to have to accept the fact that he is secondary to Roman Reigns.
Paul, I just want to touch on the run you had running Raw, being the creative director there, that we had going for close to a year, I believe, because I have a lot of admiration for you, and a lot of the talent that I spoke to felt the same. The list is actually endless. Samoa Joe, Street Profits, Apollo Crews, Angel Garza's, the list goes on. People on record, Drew McIntyre as well, talking about how great you were for them and support you gave them behind the scenes. Of course, you're amazing in front of the camera. We all know that. But is there something specially fulfilling to you, giving talents like that the chances that they got and seeing them fly?
I'm one of those people that enjoy the behind the scenes aspects as much as I enjoy the on camera aspects of this industry. And it's two totally different spiritual highs that I'm blessed enough to be able to enjoy in my life. Working as executive director of Raw was a career highlight for me, and I enjoyed every single solitary minute of the job. And the biggest reason that I enjoyed the job so much was because I got to work with so many insanely talented people, such as the ones that you mentioned. And very proud of our accomplishments, and very proud of the individuals themselves for the success that they have all achieved through the greatness of the performances that they over-delivered.
I had an interview with R-Truth where he told me the story about how you put him up to make Brock Lesnar laugh and stuff like that. It's just wonderful little tidbits that I love to hear. But speaking of you in front of the camera and the relationships that you have formed, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Brock Lesnar, because I'm curious, Paul, what would happen if Brock Lesnar was to return tomorrow? How do you navigate the hats of the advocate and the special counsel?
Well, I'm not a big fan of wearing hats. My people like to wear yarmulkes, and the safest thing that I can say for my well-being is Brock Lesnar does whatever the hell Brock Lesnar wants to do, It has been that way since Brock Lesnar was 5 years old, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So I'm sticking to the soundbite of Brock Lesnar does whatever the hell Brock Lesnar wants to do.
Well, another man that marches to the beat of his own drum, and you've known down the years, is CM Punk. You mentioned him earlier, obviously with the Shield debut. Have you ever had any conversations with him in recent years where you've got the vibe that he may or may not return to wrestling? Because it seems to be an eternal question at this stage.
You know, my problem with the premise of me answering this question is that if Punk were to want to return to WWE, that would be for Punk to say, not for me to say.
Sure.
And if that were to be revealed to me in a conversation, then I would be betraying a trust from a private conversation with someone who is no longer in the industry. So therefore, he's not a professional associate. He would only be a personal friend. And that's even presuming that Punk and I still talk. So whether or not Punk and I still talk is a privacy between us that I would respect. If we do talk, whether he even mentions WWE is a privacy that I would always respect. And if he does mention WWE, what he says about them would be a privacy that I would respect. And if he doesn't mention WWE, which would be speaking volumes by the absence of the subject in the conversation, that would be a privacy that I would respect. As well as anything that I would say to him would be a privacy that I would expect him to respect, in the same way that neither one of us talk about whether we do talk to each other or not, because that's a privacy, I dare say, we both respect. CM Punk is not in this industry anymore. So any comments that I make about the man have nothing to do with business until, if there is ever a day that he decides to return, and he does return, then we can talk about each other again. Until then, anything that's said, good or bad, is personal. And I keep my personal life away from public scrutiny.
And I can respect that, Paul. The couple that I would love to ask you before we close up here, first of all, it has to be The Undertaker. Of course, we know it's going to be the final farewell this Sunday. Man, you've seen a lot of his career, really, from all different ends. Talk to me about just your memories of The Undertaker. I know that's a long-winded thing to say, but I mean, in reference to actually working alongside him when it comes to the streak, the man behind the scenes, just what a pillar he's been for the industry and his legacy.
Well, based on the 24 questions that you just asked me, how many hours do we have?
We'll go legacy. How about that?
Should we go one at a time on these questions?
No, like I said, we'll go with the legacy of The Undertaker and you witnessing it up close.
The legacy of The Undertaker to me is the fact that for 30 years, at a level few could ever achieve, The Undertaker over-delivered on every performance he brought forth to the WWE universe. A storied career, perhaps the greatest career in the history of World Wrestling Entertainment, but no part of it as compelling as the fact that in order to over-deliver such a legendary career, this character behind the scenes was a man who was in untold pain and suffering that he never complained about and never went public with, because he understood that was the sacrifice that was necessary for a man that size to deliver those performances.
My final question is, I've spoken to Drew McIntyre, and this all ties into this Sunday before, and we spoke about the Royal Rumble, and he actually said at the time that yourself and Brock had played a central part in how all of that played out. Seeing it's one of the best Rumbles of modern times. I think most people would agree. And seeing what Drew has done from there and the way his star has grown, how proud are you, I should say, of what you put together back in January? And is Drew accurate in saying that you did?
I think Drew McIntyre is a very humble man that deserves more credit than he gives himself at times. And I'm very proud of his accomplishments. And I'm proud of his tenure as WWE champion. And I think the Raw brand is blessed to have a centerpiece as great as Drew McIntyre.
And this Sunday, of course, we're going to see him opposite the centerpiece in the business right now, Roman Reigns. Paul, it's been an absolute thrill for me to finally have the chance to speak to you. I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to cook up on Sunday.
I'm sure you do.
Before I go, Paul, can I actually trouble you for a soundbite saying Paul Heyman and you're listening to Talk Wrestling? Would that be too much?
It is too much, but I'll do it anyway. Tell me when.
Shoot.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. I serve as special counsel to your reigning, defending, undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. And these people are a drag on my time asking me to remind you that you're listening to Talk. I don't even know what the name of the show is. Talk Wrestling, Wrestling Talk. It doesn't matter to me. And you know why? Because I don't listen to it, and neither should you.
I'll take it. I'll take it all the way to the bank.